One of the biggest sections in bookstores is self-help, especially with regard to fitness and health. Here's one of the original self-help books, Gray's Anatomy. Do you remember when smoking was really prevalent? It was in elevators, taxis, buses, even school classrooms, everywhere. Well, happily, smoking has gone way down, but still about 20% of the population does smoke. The McKinsey Institute is interested in safety and security of all types, including health. For Throwback Thursday, let's take a look back at smoking. Hello, I'm Alan Bonner, and welcome to At Issue. 45,000 Canadians die every year from smoking. How can this be? We all know how deadly smoking is. Why are the hard facts not enough to stop these deaths? For almost 50 years, governments, Health Canada, and eventually tobacco companies themselves have warned us about smoking. Despite these warnings, education, taxation, and huge changes in social acceptance, tobacco still kills. Today we'll examine the issue and see what is being done to help Canada become a leader in a world that needs a smoke-free future. Now let's say I Googled smoking, and up comes on the first page the three most important things I should know about that, and my viewers should. What do I see, Dr. Jha?
I think what smokers should really understand are three key messages about smoking. The first is that the risk is big. Half of all long-term smokers, or more than half, are killed by their addiction. And second, half of those die in middle age, age 35 to 69. It's not the case that you can smoke and die at old age when you would die of something else. The second message is that quitting works. Cessation is a really effective strategy, and we've seen that in Canada. And the third is that there are things that individuals can do about quitting, but there's also important things that governments have to continue to do to help people quit smoking.
People deluding themselves that pipes, cigars, snuff, chewing tobacco is safer?
Cigars, one cigar can be the same as 8 or 10 cigarettes. People who chew get mouth cancers, esophagus, stomach cancers at an incredible rate. Snuff, I don't know much about snuff, but it's like I'll quit drinking whiskey and I'll only drink beer. It doesn't work. If you're an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. If you're tobacco addicted, you're tobacco addicted.
Can't the smoker regulate the intake with the long drags, double drags, holding it in longer?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, you're your own syringe or your own medicator.
Yeah,
and the industry has researched this beautifully to basically take a product like Marlboros, which for kids are really offensive. But what they've done is design the nicotine so that it's actually very kid-friendly, the way it delivers and gets kids hooked. And they dose things differently in different parts of the world. If they figure out, like just has been done in the US, that African Americans have a preference for menthol, they add menthol to the cigarettes.
How do they make it kid-friendly?
What they do is they adjust the nicotine in a way that it gives an immediate hit to kids, particularly the type that the neuroreceptors, the way the brain works, as Murray was explaining. And they also do the very clever kiddie packaging, like Joe Camel, we all remember, was more recognized by kids as a cartoon symbol than they recognized Mickey Mouse.
Now, 80% of the tobacco-related deaths in the world are going to happen in the developing world. I note, perhaps conspiratorially, that this is also countries that are poor. Are these being targeted? Why is this where tobacco companies find their profits are going to come from, or what are your comments
Well,
on that?
absolutely. I mean, you know, it's like that expression, where do you, that bank robber and says, why do you go to the banks? He says, that's where the money is. And Philip Morris and all of the companies know that China, India, Indonesia, Egypt, these are the growth markets. As smoking comes down in the West, those are the places to focus. And they've been in those markets for already now a few decades.
Let's take it into the United States, richest country in the world, mass advertising, public health, Surgeon General, et cetera, 1,000 people under the age of 18 become regular smokers every single day in America. Murray, why is that?
Dr. Gold said it's 2,000. 5,000 try it and 2,000 end up addicted. The reason is because teenagers are still teenagers. They still have to have an identity. They still have to find a place to belong. They still have to find out, who am I? They still have to tell dad, if they are lucky enough to have a dad, I'm the boss now. You can't boss me around. It's a coming of age ritual. It's still a mating ritual. It's still involved in all the cultural dynamics that you can imagine. Now, pot's cross-pollinated with it, which makes it even harder to deal with, like in high schools and grade schools.
Governments paying tobacco farmers to grow something else? Does that work?
Well, it's, I think that doesn't really work, because it's simple economics. As long as there's a demand for tobacco, someone will supply it. So I think the role of governments really should be to focus on reducing demand. Paying tobacco farmers to get out of it simply means that tobacco will be imported in a free trade economy from somewhere else.
What else should governments do?
Raise prices, keep them very high, ban completely advertising and promotion, make sure that the kind of warning labels and now the storefront restrictions that are in Toronto are implemented, and get information out. I think there's still this understanding that people know their risks. They don't.
Do the graphic pictures on the cigarette packages work? Does scaring people work? Does this information that Prabhat is giving to young people
It
watch
all
the
helps,
program?
but after a while they tune it out. When smokers come to my treatment center, they have special packs that they can buy that they put their cigarettes in to avoid looking at those. In fact, it may be counterproductive to some people. A lot of the people who come to my treatment center have very diminished lung capacity, and many of them have left it too late, as Prabhat said, to quit before the onset, but it's never too late to quit. I had a man who was given 3 weeks to live, and he was in a group, and this young 17-year-old girl came in, and she said, I'm just here to quit because my boyfriend doesn't like it. So I got around the table and I asked this man, he said, I have only 3 weeks to live and I'm here to quit smoking. She piped in and said, man, if you had I only had 3 weeks to live, I'd be out snorting coke, drinking beer, and smoking cigarettes all I want. And he said, I'm not like that. He said, I've only got a limited time left, and I want to live one day on this earth a free man. And I can guarantee you no one in that group ever smoked again.
Murray, you've got to be the person who sees more addicted smokers than anybody on the face of the planet. Do smokers really want to quit?
They do. They do. Dr. Gold did a study, a 7,500 people random study, so its sampling is pretty darn good, and he found that 85% of people wanted to quit, the smokers wanted to quit in that
But you hear the
household.
phrase, oh, I enjoy it. That's my right.
Yeah. See, when you ask people, but only 15% believe they could. So when you ask people, do you want to quit smoking? Sometimes they answer the question, do you think you can? So they don't think they can. They don't believe they can.
I'm Alan Bonner. Thank you for joining us. Any views expressed here are not necessarily those of the Mackenzie Institute, its speakers, sponsors, or supporters. But the Institute is dedicated to fostering public discussion, debate, and education about security matters. Google the Mackenzie Institute to join the discussion. The Mackenzie Institute is grateful to its sponsors and supporters. Some of our short pods and long talks are a result of the support of Heathbridge Capital Management Limited, the National Post, and Dundurn Publishing.